I stand alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the lingering traces of Thanksgiving. Crystal wine glasses glint under the soft pendant lights, half empty, abandoned across the granite countertops like little shards of the evening's pretension. In the background, caterers move with quiet efficiency, stacking plates and repositioning serving trays, their eyes carefully avoiding mine as I stare at my phone, knuckles whitening around its edges. My father's voice plays again, crisp and deliberate, each word a precision strike. All you do is take, Sloan. You've never contributed anything of value to this family. The recording ends. I hit replay. His voice fills the kitchen once more, the same cold, calculated cut. Breathing comes shallow, caught somewhere between disbelief and something sharper, something jagged and real. All you do is take. My palm presses into the cool granite to keep from toppling over. The caterers skirt around me, as if I am a statue to avoid, one dropping a fork with a sudden metallic clatter that makes me flinch. 3 hours earlier, I had been arranging fresh flowers along the entryway when the doorbell rang, that familiar jolt of hope and dread coiling tight in my stomach that always accompanies family events. I smoothed my camel cashmere sweater, checked the reflection in the hallway mirror, and opened the door with a practiced smile that felt both sincere and rehearsed. "Mom, Dad," I greeted, stepping back to let them enter. "Happy Thanksgiving." Mom swept past with that imperious air, critical gaze already scanning the foyer. "Those curtains are new. Bit dramatic for this space, don't you think?" Dad nodded in my direction, absorbed in a call he refused to end even as he stepped across the threshold. I swallowed the first ripple of disappointment before it could rise further. "The caterers are setting up in the dining room. Can I get you something to drink?" Neither responded, already distracted. Then Tessa's BMW rolled into the driveway. My sister emerged wrapped in a cloud of designer perfume, her flawless blowout unmoved by the chill November breeze. Cody followed behind, rumpled and bleary-eyed, but still managing his signature, infuriatingly charming grin. "Sloan," Tessa said, planting a kiss near my cheek. "You look tired. Business keeping you up?" "Business is good," I replied, not mentioning the all-nighter I'd pulled to complete the hotel lobby design that financed tonight's dinner. No one lifted a finger to help as I moved between kitchen and dining room. They lounged in my living room, sipping wine I'd carefully chosen, critiquing my artwork while I confirmed catering timings and checked place settings. When we finally gathered around the table, the linens imported, the heirloom china arranged just so, Dad cleared his throat to deliver a toast. I allowed a flicker of warmth, daring to imagine maybe this time it would be different. "To family," he said, raising his glass. "The people who always step up when it matters most." I smiled, frozen, as his gaze slid over me without pause. The others nodded, solemn, as if they were the ones who had kept the family afloat through the pandemic, as if they were the ones making monthly transfers to cover Tessa's divorce lawyer or Cody's eternally late rent. "The turkey looks dry," Mom whispered loudly as I plated her portion, the criticism slicing through the brief comfort. Later, as dessert plates were cleared, Tessa sidled up, wearing that infuriating smile that always prefaces a request. "The boys need new hockey equipment," she began, the divorce settlement still unresolved, her voice silky but urgent. I barely registered her words. My mind flashed to the $45,000 I had loaned my parents in 2020, under a formal agreement drafted by my lawyer, Daniel, money neither acknowledged nor repaid. I thought of the lakeside cabin I had purchased outright, a haven for family gatherings, where perhaps just once they might have seen me as more than an ATM. Instead, they used it constantly, without gratitude. Now, in the quiet of my empty kitchen, I unlock my phone and open the banking app. The list of recurring transfers stares back, unblinking. $2,000 a month to my parents, $1,500 to Tessa, $950 to Cody for his temporary housing, a situation that had stretched on for 3 years. My father's words echo again. "You've never given this family anything of worth." A single tear traces a cold path down my cheek, sharp as clarity. My finger hovers over the first transfer, then presses cancel. The next one, then the next. With each cancellation, the tightness in my chest eases. The kitchen grows larger, somehow lighter, the walls receding an inch. The caterer pauses mid-step, curiosity flickering across her face as I let out a sound between laugh and gasp. "If I've never given anything," I whisper, tucking my phone away, "then I suppose I can stop giving now." Before dawn the next day, I slide my weekender into the trunk of my car. The neighborhood sleeps, blinds drawn, porch lights puddled across the driveways. My hands tremble slightly as I check my phone one last time, the screen blurry through unshed tears. 27 missed calls, 43 texts, all from people accustomed to taking from me as if it were my sole purpose. Cabin outside Portland, I murmured to myself, starting the engine. The dashboard clock reads 5:17 a.m. Sleep had evaded me since the cancellations, each closed eyelid haunted by my father's voice. All you do is take. I pull away from the Georgian colonial I had renovated myself, its symmetry and curated interiors unappreciated by the very family I had built it for. The tires whisper over wet pavement, leaving Austin behind. Texas Hill Country unfolds darkly in the rearview mirror. My fingertips hover over my phone. One button, airplane mode, a declaration. Let them wonder, I whisper, pressing it firmly. The silence that follows tastes like a first clean breath after years underwater. By mid-morning, I cross the Oklahoma border. Light snow dusts the roadside, transforming the familiar into something almost unrecognizable. Perfect metaphor, I think, allowing a small, private smile. 3 days later, I stand on the deck of a cedar cabin tucked deep in an Oregon forest. Pine and petrichor fill my lungs. No one knows I am here except Daniel, my lawyer, who promised discretion. Mist coils between the treetops like the fog finally lifting from my mind. I spread my sketchbook on the rough-hewn table, pencil moving across the page with no outside prompting. Designs flow freely, unburdened by client demands or family expectations. Pure creativity, mine alone. For the first time in years, I sleep through the night.
Meanwhile, in Austin, my phone rests on the kitchen counter, silenced and charging, collecting their panic like a digital confessional. Sloan, my car payment bounced. Call me. Tessa's voice shrill, indignant, as if my money had been hers by birthright. Hey sis, something weird with my rent. Cody's casual alarm barely masks urgency. Mom, mortgage notifications say call immediately. Their messages pile up from confusion to outrage to fear, an arc of entitlement colliding with consequences. Time loses meaning in my woodland sanctuary. I hike until exhaustion, sketch until my hand cramps. I sit by the fireplace, mesmerized by flames dancing, consuming and remaking constantly. 3 weeks later, I stand at the cabin window, watching an eagle circle above the pines. This place is booked for months to come, my escape hatch, my breathing space. I whisper to the eagle, ready, though it cannot hear me. The drive back to Texas feels different. The landscape is no longer something I leave behind, but something I am choosing. Hands rest easy on the wheel, shoulders finally unburdened. I arrive home past midnight. The house greets me with familiar scents of furniture polish and potpourri, plants neglected but alive, books chosen with care. Morning light streams in, illuminating dust motes like gold. I stand in my kitchen, coffee warming my palms through ceramic, and turn off airplane mode. My phone erupts, hundreds of notifications, texts, voicemails, emails, a digital tantrum. The final message from Tessa is a voicemail. They repossessed my car today, in front of the boys. Do you know how humiliating that was? What kind of sister are you? I set the cup down and type one simple message to the family group chat. Thought I never gave this family anything. Responses pour in instantly. Where have you been? How could you do this to us? We've been worried sick. Not one contains the word sorry. I call Daniel's office and schedule a meeting for tomorrow, silencing my phone again. Sunlight pours across my design table, illuminating the Oregon sketches I brought back. Untainted designs, unclaimed, mine alone. I trace pencil lines, the slight indentations beneath my fingertips grounding me. My father's words still echo. All you do is take. But now I hear the fear beneath them, fear that I might finally stop giving. I add a final line to my sketch, firm, bold, unwavering, the foundation of everything to come. Later that morning, the office landline rings for the 7th time. I watch the court sway, refusing to reach for it. Margot appears, silver-framed glasses catching the light. Your mother again, she says gently. Want me to tell her you're in a client meeting? I nod, turning back to my hotel lobby designs, 60,000 square feet of potential, the largest project of my career. Margot hesitates. Cody's downstairs in the lobby, again. The pencil in my hand snaps. I place the pieces carefully, control my breath, and instruct Margot. Tell him I am unavailable, and if he arrives intoxicated again, security will escort him out. 3 weeks of canceled payments, 3 weeks of escalating panic, 3 weeks reclaiming my backbone. The elevator chimes. Cody's voice rises. You can't keep avoiding us. Mom needs her medication. Do you even care? My hands tremble slightly. The guilt wave never comes. Security intervenes. Elevator doors close. Silence returns. Tessa texts again. Mom's blood pressure through the roof. Hope you're happy playing the victim while the family suffers. I place the phone face down and return to my sketches. Professional life blooms as family crumbles. Yesterday, marquee owners approved preliminary designs with 0 revisions. A first. Daniel enters, briefcase swinging. They're contesting the cabin deed, claiming it's family property, not personal. I laugh without humor. False pretenses? I have emails requesting a lakeside property with 4 bedrooms. They're also telling people I'm having a breakdown, Daniel continues. Your cousin Leah called. What did she say? I ask. Tell Sloan it's about time she stopped carrying them, Daniel says. A coil inside me loosens. Someone sees, someone understands. My phone buzzes, a family group text from my father. Your behavior is destroying this family. Little design business? The business that paid their mortgage, funded Tessa's lawyer, keeps Cody's roof over his head. I slide the phone to Daniel. Add this to evidence. He nods, slips it into his briefcase. The 90-day notice was delivered yesterday. They have until March 15th to repay the loan. 12 weeks until reckoning. I mark the days mentally, reclaiming what is mine. Money, dignity, peace. They will escalate, I say. Not a question, a certainty. Count on it. Daniel straightens his jacket. Have you considered staying elsewhere until this blows over? Your address is public record. I nod. Plans are made. 2 hours later, Margot returns. Tessa's downstairs with the kids, tearing around the lobby, yanking fabric samples from the walls. Emotional ammunition. My chest tightens, but lines have been drawn. Have security ask them to leave, I tell Margot firmly. Tell Tessa she may schedule an appointment if she wishes to speak professionally. Margot nods, retreating to make the call. Daniel gives me an appraising look. You're stronger than they expected, he says. The compliment sits uncomfortably. Strength wasn't what I wanted from this family. Just reciprocity. Just acknowledgement. My computer pings with an email notification. The subject line makes my breath catch. Urgent. Mom in hospital. Your fault. I close the laptop without opening it. Another manipulation tactic. Last week, it was Dad's heart palpitations. The week before, Cody's threatened eviction. If they actually needed the money for a medical emergency, they could sell the boat, I say, more to myself than to Daniel. The boat they bought after I paid for their new roof. Daniel's phone rings. He checks the screen and grimaces. It's your father. 4th time today. Block the number, I say, turning back to my designs. All of them. After Daniel leaves, I stand at my office window overlooking downtown Austin. The winter sunlight catches on glass buildings, creating patterns of light and shadow across the cityscape. For a moment, I see the world as a series of designs, clean lines, intentional spaces, purpose in every element. My family has no clean lines, no intentional spaces, just demands that expand to fill whatever I provide. My phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number, my mother using someone else's phone. Your father and I gave you everything. We sacrificed for your education. For this selfish behavior to be our repayment? I place the phone in my desk drawer and close it formally. The calendar on my wall shows today's date with a red circle around the 15th. The foreclosure date if they don't repay what they owe. Not just money, respect, acknowledgement, truth.
I turn back to my designs, my hands steady as I adjust the line of a curved wall, creating space for light to enter from an unexpected angle. Auction day. The auction sign reflects in my windshield as I pull onto the familiar street where I grew up. Morning light casts long shadows across manicured lawns, the kind of neighborhood where people pretend not to watch while seeing everything. My morning ritual had been deliberate. Strong black coffee, 15 minutes of breathing exercises, Daniel's reassuring phone call confirming all legal bases covered. The spare key to my parents' house sits abandoned on my kitchen counter, a small brass reminder of ties severed. You're sure about this? Daniel had asked. I've never been more certain of anything, I'd answered, my voice steadier than it had any right to be. Now, turning into the familiar driveway, my certainty falters for the first time since Thanksgiving, not from doubt, but from the spectacle awaiting me. They stand assembled like troops defending territory, my entire family forming a human barricade before the auction sign. Dad at the center, shoulders squared in the same posture he'd used to intimidate mortgage brokers and car salesmen for decades. Mom beside him, handkerchief clutched to her mouth, eyes red-rimmed and accusing. Tessa, with her arms crossed, designer sunglasses pushed atop her perfect hair. Cody, unshaven and hollow-eyed, hands jammed into the pockets of jeans that probably still carry my fingerprints on the bills that bought them. Mrs. Lawson from across the street waters her geraniums with suspicious dedication. The Hendersons slow their morning walk to a casual crawl. I park, turn off the engine, and sit in momentary silence. The inside of my car feels like the eye of a hurricane, the last pocket of calm before stepping into the storm they've prepared. Dad strides toward my car before I can fully exit. "What do you think you're doing?" Exactly what the certified letter explained I would do. I shut the car door with a gentle click that somehow sounds like a gunshot in the morning quiet. "Your mother hasn't slept in weeks." His voice drops to that private register he used for family shaming. "Is this really what you want? To destroy the people who raised you?" The laugh escapes before I can contain it, a sound so foreign that Tessa flinches. Raised me or used me? Mom steps forward, handkerchief now dabbing at invisible tears. "We gave you everything, Sloan. A beautiful home, good schools. Mounting debt and impossible expectations." I finished for her. "Which reminds me, how's that $45,000 loan repayment coming along?" Dad's face transforms, anger dissolving into something calculated and unctuous. "Sweetheart, we've always supported your little design business. Remember how proud we were when you got that first big contract? The one you told Uncle Robert was only offered to me because the client wanted to sleep with me?" The words slip out like perfectly sharpened knives. "Yes, I remember." "You're blowing things out of proportion," Tessa interjects, stepping forward. "Families say things they don't mean sometimes." "Then you didn't mean it when you told your divorce attorney I'd cover your legal fees indefinitely?" I retrieve my phone, scrolling to find the text. "Let me quote you. Sloane's good for it. She's always good for it." Cody finally speaks, voice cracking slightly. "We always believed in your dreams." "No, you believed in my bank account." I straighten my spine, feeling taller with each word. "You believed I would never stop giving." The auctioneer's car appears at the end of the street, followed by 3 vehicles I recognize from the inspection day. Potential buyers. Dad's voice drops to a hissing whisper. "You'll regret this for the rest of your life." I reach into my purse and withdraw the printed transcript of his Thanksgiving voicemail. The paper trembles slightly in the morning breeze as I hold it up. "All you do is take, Sloan. You've never given this family anything that matters." I read his words back to him, each syllable a small, precise revenge. "I'm simply honoring your assessment." Mom begins to wail, a performance worthy of community theater. Tessa rushes to console her while shooting daggers at me with her eyes. "My children will never know their aunt after this, I'll make sure of it." The auctioneer approaches, clipboard in hand, nodding professionally at the family tableau. "You don't get to threaten me anymore." My voice sounds foreign to my own ears. Steady, clear, uncompromising. "You didn't see me when I gave everything. You don't get to see me now that I'm taking it back." I turn toward the auctioneer and extend my hand. "Mr. Calloway, I believe we're ready to begin." 3 months later. 3 months later, I stand in the center of an empty Adobe-style house, my footsteps echoing against terracotta tiles. Morning light filters through uncurtained windows, casting golden rectangles across bare walls. The realtor watches me from the doorway, giving me space as I absorb every detail. "The previous owners maintained the original vigas," she says, pointing to the exposed wooden ceiling beams, hundreds of years old. My fingers trace the rough-hewn texture of a wall. Santa Fe sits 700 miles from my old life in Austin, a distance measured in more than just geography. "The courtyard gets wonderful afternoon sun," the realtor continues, "perfect for coffee or reading." I step outside into the small enclosed patio. A wind chime tinkles softly. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise purple against the horizon, ancient witnesses to countless fresh starts. "I'll take it," I say. The realtor blinks, surprised. "Don't you want to see the rest of the properties I lined up?" I shake my head. This one feels right. 2 hours later, I sat across from her at a notary's office, signing paperwork for a house half the size of my Austin home. Each signature feels like setting down another heavy stone I've been carrying. When the final document is complete, the realtor hands me a single key. "Congratulations," she says. "It's a beautiful home." "No," I corrected her gently. "It's becoming one." That evening, I unpack only what I need. A small suitcase, my drafting table, and 1 box of essential kitchen items. The rest remains in storage until I decide what parts of my old life deserve space in the new one. I unfold my drafting table by the largest window and clip a fresh sheet of paper to its surface. As the sun sets, painting the mountains in watercolor shades of pink and orange, I create my first design sketch in Santa Fe. For a client, but for myself. The simple act of putting pencil to paper washes a call through me that I haven't felt in years. My phone buzzes. A text from Daniel. "Your parents moved into the West Side apartments yesterday. 2-bedroom. Tessa helped them."
I set the phone down without responding. Another text follows. "Cody took a job at Miller Construction, full-time with benefits." A small smile lifts the corner of my mouth, not because I take pleasure in their reduced circumstances, but because reality has finally arrived for my family, bringing its harsh but necessary lessons. My cousin Leah calls the following week. I answer while unpacking books in what will become my small home office. Mom told me everything, she says. The auction, Santa Fe, all of it. I pause, a design anthology balanced in my hand. And I'm bringing homemade bread when I visit next month, her voice warms the line. Unless you'd prefer wine? Both, I answer, surprised by the laugh that bubbles up from somewhere deep. Both it is. Clients find me even before my website lists my new address. Word travels in design circles, and within weeks my calendar fills with consultations. These projects carry a different energy, chosen for their creative potential rather than their ability to fund family emergencies. One evening, while hanging a series of architectural prints in my bedroom, my phone chimes with an email notification. The subject line reads simply, "From Tessa." I sit on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the screen. For several minutes, I breathe through the complex storm of emotions her name still triggers. Then I opened it. I get it now. I'm sorry. 6 words. No explanations, no excuses, no requests. Just 5 words that arrive months late. I read them again, then again. Tears blur my vision as I set the phone on my nightstand. Not because her apology heals anything, but because it confirms what I already knew. I made the right choice by leaving. Instead of responding, I archive the email. Not from anger, but because those 5 words belong to her journey, not mine. My healing doesn't require her understanding, though part of me hopes she finds her own. The cabin decision comes in weeks later. I drive up for a weekend, unlocking the door to memories both beautiful and painful. Family photos still hang on pine-paneled walls, for smiles and careful poses that captured the illusion we maintained for years. I take each one down, stacking them in a cardboard box. In their place, I hang framed quotes about courage and transformation. By Sunday afternoon, the cabin breathed differently, its purpose clarified. On the drive back to Santa Fe, I make calls to women's business networks about hosting retreats for entrepreneurs rebuilding their lives. From family hideaway to Phoenix workshop, my first client says when she sees the space. Perfect symmetry. The cabin that once housed my family's entitlement now shelters women learning to rise. Sometimes healing arrives not in what we keep, but in how we transform what broke us. 1 year later, Sloane stood barefoot on her Santa Fe patio, watching the sunrise paint the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in shades of amber and rose. She wrapped her hands around a ceramic mug, the warmth seeping into her palms. No phone buzzed in her pocket, no anxious knot tightened her stomach. "You look peaceful," said Daniel, leaning against the adobe doorframe. Their relationship had evolved from lawyer to friend to something neither rushed to define. He wore faded jeans and held his own coffee, his presence comfortable in her space. "I am," Sloane answered simply. Inside, her home reflected her transformed life, smaller than her Austin house, but filled with intention. A hand-woven rug from a local artisan anchored her living room. Copper pendant lights cast warm pools on her drafting table, where blueprints for the Women's Business Retreat Center waited for final approval. The doorbell chimed. "That'll be Margot," Sloane said, patting across the cool tile floor. "She's bringing the birthday cake." Her former assistant had followed her to Santa Fe, now a junior partner in their expanding firm. Behind Margot came Leah, cousin and unexpected ally, arms full of wildflowers. No one celebrates birthdays like someone who spent decades making other people's special days perfect while neglecting her own, Leah announced, placing the flowers on the kitchen counter. Sloane's laughter that once emerged rarely now flowed freely. By evening, her patio glowed with string lights and candles. 8 people gathered around her table, friends who knew her story, who had never asked for more than she offered, who brought dishes and washed glasses without being asked. "Before we cut this masterpiece," Margot said, gesturing to the simple lemon cake, "I want to toast our birthday girl." Sloane braced herself. A lifetime habit. "To the woman who taught me that generosity without boundaries isn't generosity at all," Margot continued, raising her glass, "who showed me that walking away isn't failure, it's sometimes the bravest choice." To Sloane, the others echoed. Something expanded in her chest. Not pride exact, acceptance. Later, when only Daniel remained helping load the dishwasher, Sloane's phone lit up with a notification. Tessa's yearly attempt at contact, right on schedule. "You don't have to read it," Daniel said, noticing her hesitation. "I know," Sloane tucked the phone away without opening the message. Not from anger, the rage had burned clean months ago, but from certainty. Some doors stay closed, not because we're holding grudges, but because we found better rooms to live in. The next morning, Sloane drove to the cabin retreat center. What had once been her family's weekend getaway now housed women rebuilding lives shattered by circumstance or choice. The sign at the entrance read, "Your worth is not measured by what you give away." A young designer named Alicia waited on the porch, a portfolio clutched to her chest.
Sloane recognized the hunger for validation in her eyes. My parents think interior design is glorified shopping, Alicia blurted after they sat down. They want me in law school. Sloane nodded. Show me your work first, then we'll talk about parents. After reviewing Alicia's promising portfolio, Sloane poured them both iced tea. People confuse love with usefulness, she said simply. I spent 3 decades trying to earn approval through sacrifice, but real love sees you even when you stop providing. Did your family ever understand? Sloane smiled. That was never the point. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Sloane sat alone on the cabin dock, feet skimming the water. Where silence had once meant suppression, it now meant peace. Her phone remained in her cabin, unanswered texts a distant concern. I built my life on silence, she whispered to the rippling lake, not because I had nothing to say, but because what I said finally mattered.